Builder. Cost, about $60. How long does it last? Over 6 hours of non-stop recording. How do I know if my battery's about to die? If that last LED starts blinking, you got about 10 minutes to shut it off. 5 minutes to be safe. Does it plug into the wall? Yes. Does it work with video for GH5? Yes. Does it work for photography and time-lapse? No. What about the GH4? Works for video and photography, surprisingly. Will any old USB power bank work? No. I highly suggest that you buy this one. Not sponsored. Do I recommend this setup? Yes. 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 Affiliate links below. Done. Roll that intro.
What's up, everybody? You are watching Too Long Didn't Read Filmmaker, where the answers comes first, the reasons come last, but we are always still learning. So today we're going to find out whether or not this USB dummy battery situation is going to be the best solution for your GH4 and GH5 setup. And I'm here to tell you, it is. Okay, so if you're shooting in a YouTube situation, or maybe you're always in the studio with your GH5, chances are you've ran into the problem where you're constantly replacing the batteries, and that gets cumbersome, especially if you have to dismantle your entire rig all the time. So, like any other YouTuber, I went out and looked for an AC adapter so that I didn't have to constantly do that. And I came across this one, which was really cool, because it had a USB power plug on the bottom. So I was thinking, holy cow, maybe I can use one of these USB power banks. More on that later. Now, I'm freaking out because there's no reviews on this thing, so I bought it anyways, hoping that it works, and I put my velometer to it, and sure enough, it gives me the correct voltage that I need to power on my GH4 and GH5, which is actually 8.4, not 7.2. Now, the reason this USB dummy battery actually works is because there's actually a buck converter, and what this does is it takes the power that a USB plug can provide, and it's gonna bump it up to something that the GH5 can use. And sure enough, I plugged everything in, and this very review is being powered by that very USB dummy battery. Now, the only thing that does not work with this is photography and time-lapse. I have no idea why, because I've tried this on my GH4 with the dummy battery, and it was able to take photos just fine. So I'm not exactly sure why GH5 doesn't work. I'm gonna assume that there's some kind of firmware bug, that if it's not using a decoded battery of some sort, that maybe it just doesn't want to take photos with this setup. Okay, so that's good and all, but the biggest showstopper here is that yes, this USB dummy battery does work with a USB power bank. Now, I have to tell you guys, you need to buy this very specific model made by Anker. Now, Anker is not sponsoring this video by any means. They're not paying me to say this to you. The biggest reason is Anker is a company that has been around for a while. They do have a warranty on this thing, but the main reason is that this USB port here, both of them, is able to supply 3 amps instead of their usual 1 or 2. Now, if you look at the buck converter, it says it needs between 2 to 4. And the reason why I didn't go with just a regular power bank that has 2 amps is because what happens if for some odd reason the current dips below 2? If it dips below 2, your camera shuts off, and then you lose the video file that you were recording, and that's just a big no-no in my book. So after I found out that it worked, I went and did 2 tests with this USB power bank. Test number 1, I left the camera on the entire time with IBIS turned on. I only recorded every so often, kind of like a vlogging situation, and you know, it works, it did very well, and it came out to about 7 hours of total operation time, which is insane considering the camera was on the entire time. Now, that test was great, but test number 2 is where this thing really shined. So for test number 2, I took 2 SD cards and I placed them in the GH5, and then I left the thing recording the entire time. Every time the SD card got full, I took it out, reformatted it in my GH4, plopped it back in, and kept recording. Now, during this recording time, I was moving the camera around. I put it on my dashboard as I drove to fight practice of a movie that I'm helping my friend out as a DP. His Indiegogo just launched. Please give it a check. It's a huge martial arts action flick. And I was very surprised that with moving the camera all day long, as well as the IBIS being turned on and all that other good stuff, this thing still managed to shoot for 6 hours and 30 minutes. Holy cow, this thing was recording with IBIS on in a very moving situation for 6 hours and 30 minutes on just one of these? That is insane. That is really awesome to know that this one battery can do that, because nobody is going to be shooting for 6 hours consistently unless you're at an event. But if you're on a regular film set or any sort of on-location situation, chances are you're turning off the camera when you know you're not going to be using it. So that being said, I think that this thing can probably last you the entire day. So what's the bottom line here? The bottom line is you need to buy this setup regardless of your situation. I'm not even kidding, and here's why. If you do a lot of YouTube shooting like I'm doing right now, or maybe you're on a set where you can plug in your camera to the wall, then you got that covered. You can actually just go through the day and you don't have to worry about power. If you're on an on-location shoot for filmmaking or events or anything of that sort, this thing can power for 6 hours indefinitely, constantly recording. So you're pretty much gonna be good to go. You might buy a second one if you need a backup, but I mean, yeah. And this all comes to a total of $60 approximately, which is actually the price of one official Panasonic battery from B&H Photo. One official Panasonic battery is going to last you for an hour and a half, maybe 2 if you're lucky. So this thing is technically worth at least 4 of those. If you do the math for Panasonic's official setup, you're basically looking at buying the Panasonic's AC power brick. You're also going to have to buy the dummy adapter, which is actually a separate purchase for the GH5. And then you need to buy 4 of those official Panasonic batteries to match one of these in terms of overall recording time. And that comes to a grand total of $370 versus $60. Not only that, this is a huge efficient setup. So let's say you are on a film shoot and you have a camera that's rigged like this. The last thing you need to do is to take the camera out to replace the battery. Now, obviously these bigger productions have a huge Sony V-Lock battery or an Anton Bauer battery, but those are really expensive. With this setup, you have a little cord that comes out of your camera at all given times. So when I need to do my YouTube stuff, I just plug it in and I'm good to go. And if I'm on location, I leave that very battery inside and simply just plug it to this battery and I'm good to go. Not only that, if you're a documentary filmmaker and you do a lot of traveling with your camera gear, if you have a cigarette adapter that gives you USB ports, you can charge it on the go. Please make sure you're using one that's 2.4 amps because you want to charge this thing as fast as you can. What people don't realize is if it's only 1 amp, that's probably going to take this thing 14 hours to charge. But if you have it on 2 amps, it only took about 6. And there you have it, folks. If this video has made all the influence in your purchasing decision, I would really appreciate it if you use my affiliate links down below. Again, this costs nothing extra to you. All it does is it gives me a little compensation so that I can continue making videos like this for you. Other than that, if you have any comments or questions, please just hit me down below and I will get to them as fast as I can. Hit like and subscribe and I'll see you later.